What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We've made it through spring football. I gave you my top 25 post-spring. Now we're going to go through the Power 4 conferences. It's the SEC first. And how about our power rankings after spring football in the SEC? So we're going to start at the top. Tier number 1, Georgia and Texas. To me, these are clearly the best two teams in this conference. And I say clear, but not necessarily a huge margin. It's just, I think we can definitely say these are the top two teams. Things could change, obviously, but as you look at the teams right now, these appear to be the best two teams. And so, I mean, there's not much you can. Georgia's just loaded. I mean, where are you going to find a weakness? You know, the wide receivers, tight end position, maybe not elite like they have. You know, and that's really not been in an area where they've been elite anyways the last few years, but they're still really good. And you look at the defense, maybe not quite as good as it has been in years past in the back seven, but the defensive line should be as good as ever. But, I mean, really, they're going to be really, really good everywhere. There are no holes. It's the deepest team probably in college football. And Georgia clear number 1. Texas right behind them. Offensively, probably even better than Georgia. Defensively, though, not quite as good. The cornerback position, a bit of a question mark. But overall, I think this Texas defense will still be pretty good. But yeah, they're number 2 because of their offense. They're absolutely loaded there. I think this is probably going to be the best offense in the SEC. You've got Ole Miss and Alabama at 3 and 4 for Ole Miss. They've just done such a good job in the transfer portal really the last couple of years. They're loaded on offense. They could maybe give Texas a run for their money on that side of the ball. I think Texas maybe has a better offensive line, a little bit of a better running back group, but not by much. But yeah, these are two really good offenses. Ole Miss on defense, they've added some big-time players. They're going to have probably the best defensive line they've had in a long, long time, maybe ever at Ole Miss. They've got the talent. They've got the size up front. This is going to be, I think, a much improved defense. Alabama behind them. These two teams flip-flopped from before spring. For Alabama, they're pretty strong, really. I mean, you look at this roster, even with Nick Saban gone, they're still going to be really good. Can some receivers step up for them? That's going to be maybe a bit of a question mark. I think the run game will be really good. A strong offensive line. Jalen Milroe, can he take that next step? And again, a big part of that is the receivers. They're going to have to help him out. Defensively, strong, especially at the linebacker spot. Cornerback position, maybe a bit of a question mark. They're going to have to rely on some young players there, but overall, this is still a really talented team. All right, how about 5 through 9? These teams I grouped together. If you want to rearrange these teams in any order, I'm not really going to argue. All of these teams are right there. These are your dark horse teams in the SEC, and I would not be shocked if one of them were to maybe even get to Atlanta. I'm really high on Texas A&M. I know people think I'm crazy, but if you look at this roster, it's good. This, you know, with Connor Wigman coming back from his injury, offensively, they're going to be good. Running back group, and as far as the unit, I mean, they're already going to be really good. And then you add in E.J. Smith from Stanford, who could be a star in the SEC potentially. This offense is going to be very good, and defensively, going to be good everywhere. At linebacker position, maybe a bit of a question mark for them. But again, this is a team that's loaded, and Mike Elko did it in year 1 at Duke. So if he can turn this team around with the talent that they have, that's why I've got Texas A&M where I've got them. I just think this team's going to be really good. LSU, a lot of talent, you know, some question marks on defense. Can they improve there? The linebacker position going to be really strong, but the rest of the defense, how good can Ed be? They're going to have a good offensive line. Can some of these running backs, these young guys, step up? I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to step in and do a very nice job at quarterback, and they've got plenty of weapons at wide receiver. Missouri at number 7. I'm still high on this team. I just a little bit higher on Texas A&M and LSU right now. And Missouri going to have, you know, maybe the best wide receiver combo in the SEC. You've got Cook back at quarterback. They bring in a transfer at running back that I think will step up for them. Offensive line, I think, not quite as good. And really, across the board, I think there will be a little bit of a drop-off from where they were last year. So I don't think this Missouri team defensively is going to be quite as good. They might be better offensively if the running back position, you know, if they can get a lot of production from that spot. So we'll see. But Missouri, a chance to be really good once again. Oklahoma, number 8, loaded on defense. That's going to be the strength for this team. It's really all about Jackson Arnold at quarterback. What can he do? But, you know, the biggest question for Oklahoma is the offensive line. And so we'll see. They're going to rely on some young players, some new players there on that up front. So that does concern me. with this Oklahoma team. For Tennessee, the offense does not concern me. They're loaded there. Can Nico get it done at quarterback? I think he can. From what we saw last year, they're in good shape there. Defensively, I like the defensive line. I think that's going to be the strength of this defense, but the secondary may be going to be the weakness, and that is a bit of a concern. If they go up against a really good passing team, I think that could hurt Tennessee. Let's go to 10 through 12. These teams are kind of grouped together for me. Kentucky, Auburn, and Florida. Kentucky going to be strong on defense. Once again, Brock Vandagriff. How good is he going to be at quarterback? Of course, that's a question mark. Offensive line should be strong. Running back group should be strong. They're going to be really good at receiver. So this team has the pieces to potentially be really good in the passing game. I am going back to the defense, a little bit concerned about the secondary. I think the front seven will be strong. Secondary, maybe a bit of an issue there for them, but still, this is going to be a really good team. And then behind them, you've got Florida and Auburn. We're going to go with Auburn at 11. It's basically a tie. These teams, to me, are basically tied. I love the additions at wide receiver for Auburn. I think that's going to be big. I think if they can get a pass game going, obviously that's going to change things for them offensively. And I do believe in Hugh Freeze. Defensively, they lost some pretty good players. I think the defense will be okay, but I don't think it's going to be great. And then for Florida, now Graham Mertz coming back from injury, very underrated at quarterback. They're going to have a good run game. But can Mertz get some help at wide receiver? I think that's a question mark. Defensively, I think the secondary will be the strength. Front seven, how will they do against good run teams? That'll be a bit of a question mark. But still, this is a talented Florida team. And I know the schedule is brutal and they probably won't have a great record, but they'll be better than their record. It's just that schedule is brutal. And then we've got Arkansas and South Carolina behind them. These two teams, could one of them maybe make a surprise, be a surprise team? I don't know. I think Arkansas maybe has a little bit of a better chance. Again, neither team really great. I don't really see. There's just not much to get excited about on these two teams. You look at Arkansas. They're going to have Landon Jackson back as a pass rusher. He'll be really good for them. The run game I think will be pretty strong, but overall this is just not going to be a great team. Probably a decent defense, but how much can they get out of the passing game? That'll be a big question mark. And then for South Carolina, offensive line I think is going to be an issue again. Can this team find a way to run the football? Defensively, I love the safety position, but not the cornerback, so it's kind of a mixed bag in the secondary. And again, it comes back to the quarterback position. Lenore Sellers, really just don't know what he's going to bring to the table. So I'm not very high on the South Carolina team. Another team that has a brutal schedule, by the way. And then we wrap things up with Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. These teams really across the board are just going to be bad. I mean, there's really no strengths. I like Blake Shapen coming in at quarterback for Mississippi State. I think the defensive line will be okay, but really everywhere else, I think this team really struggles. And for Vanderbilt, I like Diego Pavia coming in at quarterback. I think he brings them a nice element there. The run game should be pretty good, but the offensive line is going to be bad. The defense is not going to be very good. I think Vanderbilt, once again, will be the worst team in the SEC. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Give me your thoughts on the SEC and how you'd rank these teams down in the comments below.